Alright guys, Tom here and welcome to a new video, and today I'm doing my WWE Money in the Bank 2014 review. Wow, a lot to talk about in this video, but of course, as always, please can we try and get 100 likes on this video for me doing this review at 4 a.m. in the morning. Money in the Bank has just finished and we've just finished watching that huge pay-per-view. Two big stories coming out of the pay-per-view. John Cena, the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and Seth Rollins, the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion contract briefcase holder, Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins. Them two big stories coming out of Money in the Bank this year, and in my honest opinion, I'm going to give Money in the Bank this year a 6 out of 10. That's not a very good rating. If you do watch my other reviews for Raws, SmackDowns and pay-per-views, I'm usually quite nice. I usually try and give a good rating and I try and bring a lot of positives out of shows. But honestly, I really was not a fan of this pay-per-view, and I wasn't a fan of Payback much last month either. And it does seem like WWE really isn't hitting it off on the pay-per-views recently. I know a lot of you probably liked Money in the Bank this year, but I just wasn't a fan, and I'm going to explain it in this video why I didn't like Money in the Bank this year. A lot to discuss in this video. As always, can we get 100 likes? And if you watched my Raw review, I did say that I'm going to try and cut down my review lengths. Usually for my pay-per-view reviews, it goes on for like an hour, almost 2 hours at times. But starting on Monday Night Raw's review, I managed to cut it down to 30 minutes. So we're going to try and do it again this week. And for this pay-per-view review, I'm going to try and fit it down to around 30 minutes instead of an hour and a half. So hopefully it's a lot shorter and you're going to enjoy this review. But of course, we've got to start off talking about the kickoff show. And this kickoff show had Daniel Bryan addressing the WWE Universe. Now, actually, to start off, the kickoff show this time was actually on YouTube. Finally, WWE has put the kickoff show back on YouTube. So, thankfully, I could actually watch it legally for free, because I had to watch Payback and Extreme Rules and even WrestleMania's kickoff show on a live stream, an illegal live stream, because they only allowed people to watch the kickoff if they had the WWE network. But I've said it before many times that I always felt like a kickoff show was an opportunity for free advertisement. You could put on a match which wasn't anything great, but they could also run adverts about the show, run promos and video packages advertising the pay-per-view. And it was an opportunity to maybe convince a few people watching the kickoff show to maybe just go and buy it. Maybe show a few video packages, convincing them that maybe you should actually just go and buy this, watch this half-an-hour free show, and convince them to actually buy the whole pay-per-view. And it's just free advertisement. They show all these things advertising the show and try and make you buy it, by the pay-per-view. But putting it on the network kind of took away that free advertisement, because everybody that's got the network gets the pay-per-view for free anyway. So the kickoff show was kind of slightly irrelevant, because it wasn't working as free advertisement anymore, because everybody that was watching it would get the pay-per-view for free anyway. So putting it back on YouTube, a lot more people will get to see it overseas, because I don't get the network yet. I don't live in the USA, so I don't even get the network anyway. So for a company that's World Wrestling Entertainment, I don't get it. And it's not worldwide if nobody from outside the US doesn't get the network. So we miss the kickoff show if we don't have any other means of watching it, which is just really, really annoying. So if you don't have the network because of where you live, which is really unfair in the first place, it does actually defeat the point of the actual company. It's not worldwide if it's only regional locking it to the USA. So putting it back on YouTube, we can now watch it, and it does actually work as free advertisement again, because there might be people watching it on there that don't have the network but were convinced tonight to go and buy it on their satellite or cable network and actually buy the pay-per-view. So it's back on YouTube, which of course is a great thing. But for the first time in ages, I think it was at Hell in a Cell 2012, we had John Cena having an interview, but this time we had Daniel Bryan as being interviewed. So it's almost 2 years that we haven't had a free match on the kickoff show. And usually the matches on the kickoff show are actually really, really good. The last two being El Torito versus Hornswoggle, were absolutely fantastic, but I never thought this was going to live up to anything like them. I mean, it was pretty much Daniel Bryan coming out and answering only 2 questions, which was a huge disappointment. Now, one of the questions was from a Twitter person, and they asked, how long is it going to take for you to come back? And he didn't even give a proper answer. He said, I don't know, they might give me more surgery. I mean, at least give us a date or a time for us to aim at or to look forward to. But he didn't even give us a time. He was just like, well, they might be giving me more surgery, but I don't know when I'm coming back. I was just like, wow. I mean, it didn't even feel like they really planned this ahead. They just thought, bring him out there and get him on the pay-per-view. I mean, it was just I mean, we were all wanting to know when he's going to come back. And then he just gives an answer like, I don't know. Like, I just felt like, meh. What was the point in even bringing you out if you're not going to answer the main question? But I was actually really, really surprised when Daniel Bryan did come out. The reaction he got was absolutely amazing. But when they actually advertised the kickoff show on Raw and they announced that Daniel Bryan was going to be answering questions, he didn't get a reaction at all. But tonight in Boston, the crowd were really, really hot throughout the night. But I think Daniel Bryan probably got the biggest pop of the night because they were yes chanting. And then he was like, Daniel Bryan was like, shh, shh, shh. And then they were like, no, no, no. And then Daniel Bryan was like, yes, yes, yes. And then the crowd were like, yes. It was just so awesome, so loud. And pretty cool, but I just wasn't a fan of the questions he answered. The first question, like I just said, was about what time he was coming back, and then the next question was like who he thought was winning the Money in the Bank match. He said John Cena, Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns, and I thought it was cool how he finished his sentence with Roman Reigns, because he was obviously the favourite going into that match, and it was cool, probably like the most over guy in the company was backing Roman Reigns, who is obviously getting a push at the moment. And then Bo Dallas came out. Yes, Bo Dallas's music came on, and Bo Dallas came out. And he pretty much said, if you want to believe, you've just got to believe in yourself that you're going to rise back at the top after your injury and become great again. And I thought it was cool that they brought Bo Dallas out for a segment with Daniel Bryan. I mean, that's going to push Bo Dallas to the moon and back. Having a segment with Daniel Bryan, I mean, giving him the opportunity to give his thoughts on Daniel Bryan's injury was a pretty cool opportunity for Bo Dallas, and it was cool he was actually featured, as well as Daniel Bryan actually, on the pay-per-view. 2 guys, Daniel Bryan, which you wouldn't have expected to be at a Money in the Bank because he was injured, and Bo Dallas really didn't have a feud going into this pay-per-view, but it was cool that they featured both Bo and Bryan on the pay-per-view. But Bryan did actually bury Bo Dallas, and he pretty much called Bo Dallas a boner. He called him a boner. Now, I'm not sure what the American term of a boner is, but the UK meaning of a boner is an erection. And he called Bo Dallas an erection. Now, if you call something an erection in the UK, they laugh at you because that just wouldn't be a comeback whatsoever. You're an erection. I don't know if there's a different meaning in the US, but boner isn't something you'd call somebody in the UK. It really isn't. I don't know if it's got a different meaning in the US, and I was really surprised they actually said it on WWE, because that's really not PG. I'm wondering if it's got another meaning or something, but that really isn't a great comeback whatsoever, calling somebody a boner. I was just laughing, and that really wasn't the kind of meaning they wanted to bring out there. They wanted to offend him. Boner's not an offensive word. It's an erection. What were they thinking? Anyway, please somebody tell me if that's a different meaning in the US. But he then said to him, Bo, leave. And then that was pretty much that. And then Daniel Bryan's music came on and he celebrated. So in the end, he answered 2 questions and told Bo Dallas to go away. I mean, it really was a big waste of time. There really wasn't much in it. I mean, he didn't answer when he was coming back. He gave a generic answer on who he thought was winning the Money in the Bank match. He pretty much buried Bo Dallas, and that was pretty much that. It really was short, and it really just felt like a bit of a waste of time. Now, I understand it was better than not having Bryan on the pay-per-view, But it just felt like they really hadn't planned this whatsoever. They just wanted to get his name on there, and that was that. And there wasn't really any aim once they got him out there. But yeah, he got on the pay-per-view, which is fine for Bryan fans, but it was a bit of a big disappointment. I mean, it was his big return since getting injured, and then there wasn't really any payoff there really at all. But one other thing I wanted to talk about was Renee Young has now replaced Josh Matthews on the panel, and she was absolutely fine. There was no complaint there whatsoever. She pretty much did a smooth transition. I mean, there was no difference between Josh Matthews or Renee Young, so that's absolutely fine. It does look like she's going to be doing the job now instead of Josh Matthews, and now they've got that other guy that's actually going to be in the Twitter panel or whatever, which they never use anyway. It used to be Renee Young, which used to be in that social media lounge or something, and they're always like, we're going to check back with you throughout the show, but they never do, which always confuses me. They always say, oh, we're going to check back with you about tweets throughout the night, but they never go back to the person in the lounge. But they've now replaced it with somebody else. Is it Tom Phillips or somebody? Wherever he came from, I have no idea whatsoever. It just seems like a complete change in interviewers now. We've got Renee Young as pretty much the panel host now. No complaints there whatsoever. And now you've got Tom Phillips in the Twitter lounge. But they don't even use the Twitter lounge, and I never understood the point of it whatsoever. But this kickoff show was actually a huge disappointment. I would have preferred it if maybe Daniel Bryan just had like a backstage segment or something which actually had any meaning to it. It just felt like a bit of a long-winded way to have a kickoff show. I would have much rather had like a match on the kickoff show. I mean, there was a lot of matches on the show tonight which could have easily been on the kickoff show and didn't deserve to be on the pay-per-view. And I mean, I just felt like it was a bit of a waste of time having Bryan on there when he just really didn't have an aim whatsoever, and his answers were pretty pointless. So I'll give that a 6 out of 10. The first match which started the show was the WWE Tag Team Championship match between the Usos and the Wyatt family. Now, my prediction was the Wyatt family were winning this match, and it was pretty obvious by the Boston crowd that they were very, very into the Wyatt family picking up the win here. But it didn't go down that way, which I won't say is a big disappointment, but was a bit of a surprise on my part. Now, the Usos really haven't done anything in the last few months. They've been quite irrelevant for a long time. They didn't even defend the titles at the Payback pay-per-view. So I thought it was time that they change hands. The tag team titles went to the Wyatt family. The Wyatt family really haven't been doing that great recently. Bray Wyatt got a loss on the pay-per-view tonight, and he also lost at Payback as well against John Cena. So I thought it was time maybe the Wyatt family got a little bit of momentum behind them and won some titles finally, got some gold tonight at the pay-per-view. But sadly that didn't happen, and I thought it was time that we got a fresh face as the tag team champions, change hands and have something new, something that we haven't seen before, being the tag team champions, for example, the Wyatt family. And I thought it was the Usos' time up. They haven't really done anything since winning the tag team titles, so change hands and have something new and exciting in the tag team division. And I was all excited to see that happen at Money in the Bank this year. But I wouldn't say I was disappointed when the Usos retained. I was just slightly annoyed that they maybe kind of think that we're still into the Usos. And I was more in for the Wyatt family winning than the Usos, but I'm not going to go as far as say I'm disappointed, because I am an Usos fan and I know a lot of people are. But let's just say I would have preferred the Wyatt family to win here, but it's not much of a shame that the Usos didn't. The Usos won here. I'm not too bothered because the match itself was absolutely brilliant. My breath was taken away at this match. I was so surprised how good this match was. There was like a back-to-back suicide dive outside the ring, and there was a bloody double superplex by the Usos onto Eric Rowan, I believe. That was freaking mental. They did a double superplex to win the match, and then they do 2 frog splashes to win the match. I mean, they needed a double superplex and 2 frog splashes to pick up the win here. That does actually put over the Wyatt family quite well, because they needed to hit all their moves to put away the Wyatt family, which is quite a lot. But the Usos did get the win. Now, the ending was quite cool, like I said, with the double superplex and the 2 frog splashes. But The match itself was absolutely brilliant. The crowd loved it. They were so into it. I was so into it. Every pinfall, I was like, is this going to be it? Is this going to be it? Are we going to see new tag team champions? Sadly, it didn't happen, but I was so bloody into this match from start to finish. It was very engaging, very entertaining, and I was just so strucken by how impressive this match was. I didn't think it was going to be that good at the end of the night. But it really was. And I think this was one of the best matches of the night altogether. And I think it was absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people are going to be very impressed by the Usos and the Wyatt family in this match. Yes, I'm sad that the Wyatt family didn't win because I'm a huge fan of the Wyatt family. But there isn't any disappointment that the Usos retained because they're a great tag team. And I'm just glad that they are the tag team champions because they are good tag team champions. I would have liked to see a fresh face of the new tag team champions. But it's not too bad that the Usos retained here. Just slightly surprised that they didn't go for a new direction with the Wyatt family winning. But that match was fucking awesome. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. A one match which wasn't fucking awesome was Paige against Naomi. Yet again, Paige is booked in another boring Divas match against Naomi. Every single Paige match she has had at a pay-per-view defending that Divas Championship has been shit. I think every match that Paige has had at a pay-per-view so far has been the worst match on the card. And I honestly, truly believe that. Another really boring Paige match. Seriously, is anybody in the back of WWE actually watching these matches Paige does? I mean, the matches she's had to get people against haven't been that bad. I mean, she's had to work with Naomi here, Alicia Fox twice, was it? And then Tamina? I mean, the people that she's actually been put against haven't been that bad workers, but every single match she's had, the crowd really haven't cared for. It hasn't been entertaining. There's not really been any highlights. They didn't show any highlights of this match after the match. Just nothing impressive and outstanding whatsoever. I mean, this was a SmackDown match at best. Every pay-per-view match Paige has had has really been really disappointing. I mean, there was so much prospect for this girl when she came in. And she's had the worst match on every pay-per-view so far she's defended her title at. And I'm not even kidding. It's a huge disappointment. But once again, she has the most boring match on the pay-per-view yet again. And Naomi's not a bad worker. She's not a bad worker. But this match sucked. I mean, they botched 3 times. I mean, once they went for a drop kick at the same time and hit each other. Paige went for some kind of hurricanrana and it just went completely tits up. And then one time they were both on the top rope and they just both slipped and fell. And there was 3 major botches during this match. And the whole match just fucking sucked. It was just so boring and lame. And we all knew that Paige was going to retain anyway. It was just so predictable. And then when Naomi hit her finisher, Paige just kicked out too. She just completely no-sold the finisher as well. But once again, another boring and predictable match and Paige retains. I really hope AJ Lee comes back because I think they're going to keep the title on Paige until AJ Lee does finally come back. And that's a huge shame because I really can't sit through many more Paige matches at a pay-per-view because they've all been shit. So I'm going to give that match a 5 out of 10. Huge disappointment because I thought Paige was going to be good when she came into the WWE. But wow, she's been a huge disappointment. But one positive from this match was Paige did actually debut a new finisher. It was a Cradle DDT, and that was what she picked up the win with. She hit it on Naomi and picked up the win, and I do definitely think it looks a lot better than the Paige Turner. Now, the Paige Turner is pretty much, well, if you actually think about it, it really does not look painful whatsoever. But a Cradle DDT looks a lot more devastating than the Paige Turner. And that's what got the win tonight at the pay-per-view, was that Cradle DDT. It looks a lot more devastating. And it put Naomi over for a 3 count. And it does look like she's debuted that as a new finisher, which is a lot better than the Paige Turner. Now, she didn't actually use the Scorpion Crosslock in this match because she's used that finish in the other 2 pay-per-view matches she'd had. So it's better that we got a different finish at this pay-per-view rather than the Scorpion Crosslock, which is good. And it's nice that she's debuted a better finisher. So I'll give that match a 5 out of 10. Very boring. Adam Rose versus Damien Sandow just didn't deserve to be on the pay-per-view whatsoever. Didn't even deserve to be on the kickoff show, let's be honest. So we're literally just going to skip over that match because it's just a piss take that this even made the show. I mean, Damien Sandow won the SmackDown or WWE World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank ladder match last year, and now he's jobbing to Adam Rose. Let me just let that sink in. He's jobbing to Adam Rose. I mean, what has happened to Damien Sandow? I just don't want to spend any more time on this match because it shouldn't even have been on the show. It was just a filler match to waste some time. It shouldn't even have been on the show. It's just, if I'd paid $60 for this pay-per-view, I would have been super pissed that some of the time that I'd spent would have been for an Adam Rose and Damien Sandow match. I mean, where did this match even come from? They don't even have any beef towards each other, but somehow it's made it onto the pay-per-view. And it makes me wonder, if the WWE Network didn't exist, would they have put this on the pay-per-view? Because I know $9.99 is so bloody cheap. Would they have put this on the pay-per-view if the network wasn't around and a lot of people were still paying $60? Would they? Are they cutting it down and putting matches like this on here because people are paying way cheaper than they used to for pay-per-views? I don't know, but this fucking shouldn't have been on the show. It's just a fucking piss take that it was. So I'm just going to give that a 1 out of 10. I literally didn't even watch that match because nobody's going to remember it. Nobody's going to remember it. I mean, tomorrow on Raw, are you even going to remember this match happened? No. So the next match was the Money in the Bank contract ladder match. Dean Ambrose, Ziggler, Swagger, Kingston, Rob Van Dam, and Seth Rollins were in this match. Now, Bad News Barrett was taken out of this match earlier in the night. It was announced on the kickoff show that he'd actually been taken out of the match because he got an injury on Friday Night SmackDown, and I thought he was the favourite to win this match. Imagine him cashing it in, saying, "I'm afraid I've got some bad news," and then just cashing it in. How good would that have been? But he was injured, sadly, by Jack Swagger. They did actually mention it was by Jack Swagger, which I was quite surprised about. But that might have been a reason why Seth Rollins did eventually win this match, was because they had to backtrack and think of somebody else to win this match rather than Bad News Barrett. But Seth Rollins did win this match, and hopefully this is going to set up a match at Battleground between Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the WWE Money in the Bank contract. That would be freaking fantastic, and I'd love to see that. Maybe that does set up a match between Rollins and Ambrose for that contract, or it does set up a match between Ambrose and Kane at Battleground. Any of them two could happen. I'd rather have Rollins and Ambrose happen, but I could quite easily see Ambrose versus Kane happen. We have seen it before at a pay-per-view, but it could quite easily happen between Ambrose and Kane, because what happened in this match was the crowd freaking popped when Ambrose went for the contract. He was touching it, and then I actually thought maybe Kane comes in at this point. No lie, and he actually his pyro hit. It was funny because one of the referees actually shoved Zeb Coulter out the way because Kane's pyro was just about to go off. You could see it in the bottom right hand corner. They like shoved Zeb Coulter away from the pyro or the ring post, and then Kane's pyro hit, and Kane actually had to like properly run because Ambrose was pretty much touching the contract. And I mean the Kane was about 20 meters away from Ambrose, and he actually had to get in the ring. I mean, during that time, Ambrose could quite easily have got the contract, but he was distracted by Kane. But he could quite easily have got the contract whilst Kane was running to the ring, because it took him about 20 seconds to reach the top of the ladder. In that time, Ambrose could quite easily have got the contract. But it is WWE, and it did make for quite a big spectacle because all the fans were on their feet when Ambrose went to the top. It was quite a magical moment that, however, Dean Ambrose is after leaving the Shield. It is quite amazing. But what happened before that was, which was pretty cool, was Ambrose was actually taken out of the match due to an elbow injury. Now, what I didn't like about this spot was, just before this happened, which was freaking awesome, was a superplex off White, the tallest ladder you'll ever see. But what happened after this was, I think, basically, Ambrose was chucked off a ladder and Swagger got like kind of like a spine buster onto Ambrose. And apparently Ambrose hurt his elbow. Now, we really didn't clearly see how he hurt his elbow. But, like, loads of doctors got in the ring and they ushered him away up to the ramp. But we were never shown a replay or anything. Or it didn't even look like he'd even landed on his elbow. But for 1 second, you blinked and then there was loads of doctors in the ring ushering Ambrose away. And the reason wasn't really explained why he was injured or anything. They just made him get out of the ring. It was a bit weird. Like, Ambrose was overreacting like, no, don't take me away, don't take me away. Yet we had no idea how he'd got that injury. And even when I look back at it and think where he could have got that injury, it just didn't look like he'd really hurt himself at all, like what the doctors were saying. But Ambrose did go for the match for like, I think he disappeared from the match for about 10 minutes backstage. He came back to a huge pop when Rollins was climbing the ladder, which was just an awesome moment during the match. And then he knocked Seth Rollins off. Ambrose was climbing, and then Kane obviously came out, which was quite a big shock. I mean, would you expected Kane to come out to stop Ambrose from getting the contract? Cool moment there, but it kind of killed the crowd. Like, it really did kill the crowd. I mean, as soon as Kane took out Dean Ambrose, you knew Rollins was winning. I mean, like, they were like, yay, 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 Ambrose, Ambrose, Ambrose. And then Kane's music comes, he chokeslams him, he pile drives him. Both the chokeslam and the pile driver look just weak as fuck. Like, Kane used to do the chokeslam like twice as high as he does now. But now it's just like, it's like a meter in the air. It's really crap. And the pile driver was even worse. He literally just laid him on the floor. That was pretty much that. But it just killed the crowd when he hit that pile driver, because we all knew Rollins was winning, and that was like the predictable route that we thought they might not go. We thought, ooh, it's a bit predictable. Are you really going to go down that route? And they did. Like, you were like, ugh, that was too predictable. I'm not too impressed by that. Like last year when Sandow won, you were like, fuck yes, I didn't really expect that to win. You kind of did, but you didn't. You weren't sure. But going into this match, you were like, they built Rollins up as the favourite. And then you were thinking, nah, surely they're not going to make him win because he's the favourite. I mean, you want something special to happen. And then when he wins, you're like, that wasn't that special in the end, because it was kind of written for Rollins to win, wasn't it? And you're just like, ugh. And now the payoff's kind of there. I mean, he joined Evolution, or the Authority, whatever they are now. And you would expect this like half to year build of Rollins building himself up to become that top star, and then eventually getting a championship and getting the payoff. But he only joined Evolution 4 weeks ago, and he's already a contract holder. He's already got that big payoff. He's already made himself. He's already there. So there wasn't really that slow build of Rollins, that slow build up. He's already there. He's already made as a champion. And maybe it's a bit quick for Rollins, maybe? Maybe I'm thinking it's a bit too soon for Rollins to hold that contract, when he had others in there that have a lot more experience than Rollins, like a Ziggler, who I thought was actually going to win. You've got a Swagger in there. You've got an RVD who have a lot more experience in the top flight of the WWE. And Rollins has already got that big payoff for joining the Authority. And do you think he's got enough experience in singles competition within the WWE at main event level, at a pay-per-view in a singles match? Has he got enough experience to become that WWE World Heavyweight Champion when they crown John Cena that champion later in the night, who has a hell of a lot more experience to carry the company? And they can rely on him so much, John Cena I mean. Can you see Seth Rollins being that guy? Can you see him cashing that in a few weeks down the line and being able to carry the company like Cena can do it? Do you think he's really there? Is he ready? Because he's got that big payoff now, which I wasn't expecting at all. Do you think he's ready? Do you think it's a bit too soon? I'm not sure. We're going to have to wait and see. Could they push him too much too soon? Could happen. I don't know. I'm a bit scared now, but yeah, I was a bit disappointed that they went down the predictable route. But maybe if BMB didn't get injured, they probably would have gone with Bad News Barrett, because Ambrose and Rollins have this feud going on. They're fine. They're doing fine. They've got a good juicy feud with a lot of fans behind it. A lot of people are into it. A lot of ingredients into it. Does it need that briefcase in that feud? No, they're doing fine. They've got a feud built and mashed together already. So the briefcase could quite easily have gone to a Ziggler, a Kofi, or a Swagger. They could have made one more star out of this because, in my opinion, Rollins and Ambrose are already two big stars who are already over. But if they could have given the briefcase to Ziggler, they could have made another star out of this Money in the Bank match. But they didn't do it. They gave it to Rollins, who honestly, in my opinion, doesn't need it because he's already got a juicy feud for the summer. Does he need that briefcase as well? Because in my opinion, he's already over and he's already got a feud. He's already busy with a match and a feud with Ambrose. If they'd given it to Ziggler, that would have been an opportunity to create another big star from that match and carry another superstar forward into the future. But no, they gave it to Rollins, who arguably didn't really need it, which is a big problem. If BMB didn't get injured, then they could have made a star out of Bad News Barrett, and that probably would have happened. But they had to give it to Rollins. Maybe that was a change of thought because Bad News Barrett did get injured. We will probably never know. But I was just a bit pissed off that they kind of went down the predictable route. But that match was fucking awesome. The highlight for me probably was the zigzag onto the ladder. We saw a rolling thunder onto a ladder propped up on the second rope, which looked fucking awesome. The superplex from that huge ladder looked sick. I mean, I think this was the better ladder match out of the two. It is usually the lower tier ladder match is usually the better match. I mean, I remember last year, the World Heavyweight Championship ladder match was a lot better than the WWE Championship ladder match. I mean, it always seems to be that the SmackDown ones are better. I don't know, but that was a better ladder match than the one that was the main event. But a lot of them stars have a lot to prove. A Kofi, a Swagger, a Ziggler, an Ambrose, a Rollins. They have a lot to prove in a big future, so they wanted to prove what they could do on the biggest stage of them all. But I do think they could have chosen a Ziggler or something like that rather than a Rollins, who arguably didn't need it. But we're going to move on to Stardust and Goldust against Rybaxel. Nothing's... Oh, sorry, I'll give that ladder match a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Stardust and Goldust defeating Rybaxel. Why was this on the show? I don't know. I do know that they're trying to test Stardust's character. Now, they're testing to see how well received it is in the next few weeks. If it gets over, they're continuing with it. If it doesn't get over, they're going with Goldust versus Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. So they haven't got long to see if it gets over. So they wanted to probably test it on a pay-per-view level, see how well received Stardust is on a pay-per-view level, see what the reception is like. And honestly, nobody really cared for this match in the crowd. It was really, really dead. It was one of the most dead matches of the whole night. And this really started a bad run of matches. I think we had 3 matches in a row which really were crap. This match was a match you would just have expected on maybe a main event or something. Nothing outstanding whatsoever. Just a simple match at the end of the day. The ending was cool, but apart from that, there's nothing you can take from this match whatsoever. The ending was Shell Shock reversed into a Crossroads by Stardust, and that was pretty much that. It was cool to see Stardust do some new moves, like he did a cartwheel, and then the one where he throws himself to the floor and punches the opponent in the head like Goldust does. He did that, but instead he used his leg, which was quite funny and quite inventive. But they did actually kind of debut a few new moves there, but Stardust really didn't have a lot of a showing than I thought he would. Goldust was probably in the ring more than Stardust, which is a bit of a big disappointment. But what I thought was cool, that Stardust actually got the pinfall. I think that's how it ended, didn't it? Yeah, that is how it ended. Is it? Yeah, I think it is. But Stardust got the win. He got the pinfall, which is always good to give him the momentum because he's obviously a new gimmick. So they're going to see how well it is received in the next few weeks. So obviously they were going to give them the win here to keep the momentum alive and keep them getting a push and see if fans are still interested in them. Because if they went into this match and lost, there's more of a chance of them not getting over. So they were obviously winning here. But honestly, the match itself was just not memorable. I mean, you could see there I couldn't even really remember the finish. So there isn't anything to take away from that match. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Another match which was just Rusev defeating Big E. Their match at Payback was a lot better. I mean, there really wasn't anything in this match. Yet again, the crowd was very, very dead for this match. The only real cool thing about this match was when Rusev went for that camel clutch, it looked like for once, nobody's done it yet, escaped from the camel clutch. Big E looked like he was going to do it. He had his arms out, just nearly did it, but he couldn't do it. And then Rusev got it in tightly again and made Big E tap out. In this match, except for the spear on the outside, which Big E does in every pay-per-view match. I mean, it's that one thing he brings out in a pay-per-view match, and literally the only thing he brings out in a pay-per-view match. I mean, Big E on a pay-per-view level, I really haven't been that impressed with. But if there's one thing I am impressed with Big E at pay-per-view level is that spear he does onto the outside. But it's literally the only thing he ups his game with on pay-per-view level. But Rusev against Big E, apart from that spear, an average match. An average match. A good match for two big guys. Usually two big guys don't work that well together. For example, Big Show against Brock at Royal Rumble, that might not have been a great example. But any match between Mark Henry and Big Show, anything like that, where you've got two big, strong guys. Like, a good example would be Ryback and Henry at WrestleMania 29. There's not a lot of things to work with. But what I like about Rusev and Big E is they're very, very agile for very, very tough big guys. And they're one of the two big guys that work very, very well in the ring. And they're top fucking talents. They really are. They're two of the really good talents WWE has. And they should use these guys very well. Big E and both Rusev. There's two big guys that work extremely well together. Like, really extremely well together. Very agile. Very fast on their feet. Very light in the air. I mean, yeah, this was a good big guy match. I mean, I'm not usually a fan. I've said it in the past. I'm not a fan where you've got two strong guys in one ring. It's supposed to be like a big occasion. Like a good attraction to have two big guys in the ring. And it never pays off. But these guys, two times, have had good matches, okay matches. I think the match at the Payback was better, but they did the job. They did an okay job, and they did a decent pay-per-view match here. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Rusev obviously getting the win, and he's still continuing with that debut push. I mean, yeah, we've had to sit through a lot of squash matches, and Big E's the only guy where it hasn't been really a squash match. They've given it decent time when Big E's faced Rusev, but I mean, this guy's still on that debut push, isn't he? I mean, we're 2 months down the line and he's still having that push from when he originally debuted. I mean, there's got to come a time when we want to see this guy just merge back into the normal roster and start having 1 or 2 losses down the line, because it's just predictable after predictable after predictable. We want to see somebody actually step up to the plate and actually challenge Rusev, because these squash matches are making me a little bit bored of Rusev when he is a top talent. He is a top talent, but all these squash matches, I mean, there's only a few squash matches I can take. I mean, I've had to sit for about 100 of Rusev squash matches. They're getting a little bit boring, and especially when you have to sit through that long entrance, that long promo, and then you just have to sit for a 10-second match. That's what pisses me off, but there's got to come a time when Rusev has to face somebody that defeats him, and hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, because I'm getting slightly bored of Rusev's matches. But this match was okay. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Oh, God. Layla against Summer Rae. What was this even doing on the pay-per-view? I mean, I couldn't understand where Fandango lied in this match. I mean, Fandango should have been in the Money in the Bank ladder match, because he had a great showing at last year's Money in the Bank 2013. I remember him doing a sunset flip off the top of the ladder. I watched this match yesterday, and he also did like an awesome move onto Wade Barrett onto a ladder last year. Basically, Fandango was one of the favourites last year in the ladder match, and he had a great showing. And this year he's a special guest referee in a Layla and Summer Rae match. I mean, this guy is one of the most underutilized guys they have on the roster, isn't he? I mean, wow, he's such a freaking talent. He did so well to get that Fandango character over. I mean, if there's one hard thing if there's one of the hardest characters or gimmicks you can get over, it's Fandango's. I mean, there's very few guys in the company that could have the gimmick Fandango has and get it over as he did at one point. I mean, people were singing his theme tune, and he was so over. And what has happened to him a year later? What is he doing? He's a special guest referee at a pay-per-view. Oh, God. What was even this match doing on the pay-per-view? I mean, it was so shit. It really was so crap. I mean, I was a huge fan of Summer Rae when she debuted at Survivor Series in a mixed tag with Fandango against Natalya and Carly. I think it was Survivor Series. That match was fucking awesome. I mean, she looked so good in that match. Now, I don't watch NXT, so I don't know much about what else she can do, but she had a great match in her debut at Survivor Series, and ever since then, I mean, she's just been average, and this really, really, really sums up her. I mean, if this is the best she can do, then I'm really disappointed, because arguably we haven't seen much of Summer Rae, but this is her. She returned back from filming the movie with the Marine 3 with Miz. So this is pretty much her big return match at a pay-per-view, which she loses. She's also the younger competitor as well, so I was really surprised Layla got the win here. And also they've tried to push Layla in the past like 3 or 4 times, and it's never really worked out. But Layla got the win here, which I'm hugely shocked about. I'm really surprised Layla didn't put over Summer Rae here. Because what else can they do with Layla? We've seen her at the top many, many times. Come on, give Summer Rae the win and let's see what she can do. Give her the ball and let her run with it and see what she can do. But no, Layla got the rub here and she got the win and she got put over in this match. Why? I don't know. What are they going to do with Layla now? I mean, she's been in the WWE for a hell of a long time. Give somebody fresh and new a chance like Summer Rae. Why couldn't they have given Summer Rae the win here? I have no idea whatsoever. Maybe they were thinking, maybe people think, oh, it's obvious Summer Rae's winning here, and they went for a little bit of a swerve here, but did anybody really care about this match anyway? So I don't think that was maybe their fault. I mean, I can't understand why they gave Layla the win. Can anybody? What are they going to use with this win for Layla? Can anybody buy into Layla anymore? I mean, she just seems like she's been around forever. Like, just give Summer Rae a win. And this match fucking sucked. Let's just move on, because I wouldn't even have expected this match on a main event or a No, they don't even do that anymore. What is it? What's that other show they do? Superstars. You wouldn't even expect this match on Superstars. It was just so bad. I mean, we had 2 Divas matches tonight, and both of them freaking sucked. I mean, there was one point where the Divas division was looking really, really good. I mean, it was like last summer, the Divas division was looking great. I mean, at Night of Champions, we had a fatal 4-way Divas match. I mean, you had 4 people who were legitimate looking like they could defeat AJ for a title. And now, we have 2 Divas matches on a pay-per-view. I didn't even want to see one. And both of them were the worst matches on the card. Hands down. Both of the Divas matches were the 2 worst matches on the card. Which doesn't say a lot for the Divas. It's a huge disappointment, but what can I say? They just didn't work well, and it's a bit of a pain that they had to put 2 on there tonight. I mean, could they have just scrapped the Layla and Summer Rae match and just increased the ladder match length, or give them more time for the main event, or give them more time for the Tag Team Championship match, which I would have loved. I mean, if we had 5 more minutes of that match, I really would not have complained. Did they really need to have 2 Divas matches on this show? Because they both sucked. But the last and final match, sorry, Layla and Summer Rae, I'll give that a 1 out of 10. What were they thinking? It was sucked. So, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship ladder match, Roman Reigns, Orton, Sheamus, Cena, Cesaro, Bray Wyatt, Kane, and Alberto Del Rio. Now, I saw my friend Revamped say on Twitter, he's a cool guy from Canada, he said, and I quote, "I don't want Orton, Cena, or Kane to win this match. We want somebody fresh and new to win. I'm rooting for Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns," or I think he said Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, and Cesaro, some 2 or 3 of the guys like that. And it just sums up my thought exactly. Exactly. Now, I predicted John Cena was going to win because Raws have been awful. SmackDowns have been awful. The ratings have been even worse. Stocks have been absolutely terrible. I've really been going off my wrestling recently because WWE has sucked. And there's that one guy that they can rely on. I understand that. They can rely on John Cena to bring in them ratings, bring in them sales, everything like that. They can rely on this guy. He's been with the company for 12 years, and there's only one guy that they've really been able to go to, and he's always done it. He's always done the job and done exactly what they want. He's always gone out there and he's just been best for business. He's done everything they've ever wanted, and he's always been that go-to guy when they've ever been in trouble they can count on. And stocks are bad, and they need to rise. It's a company. They need money. Put the title on John Cena, and that'll make the stocks rise. Raw ratings will be better. Raws might even be better as well. For a start off, we haven't even had a legitimate champion. We haven't had somebody on Raw every week for the past 2 months as the champion. So at least we've got a champion now. And we all know Cena you can rely on. He's going to be there week after week and at every house show defending that title and making that title mean something. I mean, what can you complain about that? Yes, I know it's boring Cena, but he's just... everything about him is good for the company. If you like it or not, it is really good for the company. Everything he does is good for the company. And having him as the champion at this time is good for the company. I don't like to say it, but it is good for the company. Now, yes, I did go into this match hoping a Reigns, hoping a Cesaro, hoping a Bray Wyatt might win, have a fresh face, have somebody new having that championship and carrying the company. But the company's in such a bad state at the moment, could they have really risked giving it to somebody like a Reigns, a Cesaro or Bray Wyatt and risking it falling on their face and losing a star and losing their company? Because, yeah, they could have lost. They could have given the title to Cesaro and it failed, and that might be Cesaro's career down the drain, and it could also really hit the company a lot. Now, they're already in a slump at the moment, the company, so give it to Cena, make him bring you out of that slump, and then maybe in a few months, you can risk putting it on a Cesaro, a Bray Wyatt, or a Roman Reigns. But currently, in June 2014, it wasn't the time to put it on somebody young, because they can't risk it. They honestly can't risk it. And it's even worse now that they've only got one world championship. You can't give somebody the world championship and the WWE championship. You can't give Cena the WWE championship and maybe arrange the world heavyweight championship because you don't have that anymore. The SmackDown championship, the world heavyweight championship, in its latter years was always that championship you could build somebody up to be a top star eventually. It happened to Daniel Bryan and they did exactly that. And it was always that extra stepping stone to the WWE Championship. And that could have been what you could have done with Reigns here. But obviously you don't have that anymore. You can't do that anymore. Now, maybe what a better option was for Reigns to unstrap one and then Cena to unstrap the WWE Championship. So you had Reigns and Cena on the ladder at the same time, Reigns to unstrap the World Heavyweight Championship, and John Cena to unstrap the WWE Championship. Well, I think that what they did was actually literally strap the titles there, because there was a spot during the match when both Cesaro and Sheamus were swinging on there, and the titles didn't become detached. They were still attached. Now, if they weren't, they would have probably fallen off if it didn't have extra support on there. Now, they did say during the match you actually have to take the buckle off where the two titles are hung. You can't actually take the two titles off. So that they actually said that during the match. So they couldn't have done that, but that would have been, in my opinion, a better option, because I think ever since December, when they unified the titles, it was a mistake. I think it was a mistake. There's one less title for people to aim for, and there's also one less title to build a top star up, to be that next guy. Because there's nothing for Reigns to hold. There's nothing for a Cesaro or a Bray Wyatt to hold. There's nothing for them to build themselves up to. I mean, if you could have given them the World Heavyweight Championship and then built them up, then in a few months, given the WWE Championship, they might be ready. Oh, for fuck's sake. But you don't have that anymore. because they've unified the titles. And it has caused a huge problem in the WWE. But now, your top guy, as always, is John Cena. And he is the 15-time world champion. He's one off Ric Flair's 16-time world title reigns, which you know he's going to get it, and he's also going to surpass it. But this is John Cena's 15th title reign, and I know things are going to get better. I hope they are. But WWE knows what they're doing, I think. I think they know what they're doing. But I know a lot of people were really excited to see Reigns win here. A Cesaro, a Bray Wyatt. But do you think they have enough experience in a main event level? Do you think they have enough experience in singles competition in main event level? Do you think you could see them opening every Raw, cutting a beastly promo, and being your top guy in the company? Do you think they're ready yet? Do you think they are? I mean, it just proves here the fact that John Cena won how big that title is. I mean, Reigns, Cesaro, and Bray Wyatt don't even come close to Cena yet. They have no experience whatsoever at that top level. They've got a hell of a long way to go if they want to be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. They really do. And, I mean, this match, talking about it quality-wise, wasn't as good as the Money in the Bank contract ladder match, but it was still a very good match. I mean, I've never watched a bad Money in the Bank ladder match. I really have never watched a bad Money in the Bank ladder match. Two good spots you can talk about during this match was when somebody balanced one of the ladders in between one of the ladders when it was standing up, and it was kind of like cradled on its side, and Cesaro and Sheamus were both on there at the same time. That was cool. And one other thing was what they duplicated from last year was when, well, they actually duplicated two spots simultaneously. Cesaro did a European uppercut off the top of the ladder, which was from last year's Money in the Bank. And also, Randy Orton did an RKO off the ladder, which was exactly what they did last year. Which I have no problem with them doing it again if it looks good, which they both did. But I don't like it when Michael Cole pretends that it never happened. He's like, holy smokes, holy shit, that was amazing. And pretending it's never happened before. And pretending we don't remember it happening last year. But there were two cool, awesome spots during the match. I think the match before, when Seth Rollins won, had better spots and more spots. But this was a good Money in the Bank match. Every Money in the Bank match is good. And every Money in the Bank pay-per-view is usually good. But this is probably the worst Money in the Bank pay-per-view I think WWE's done. I mean, they've done better. A lot better. Last year was a lot better. I mean, Layla against Summer Rae. Adam Rose, Damian Sandow. Paige against Naomi. Even Daniel Bryan's promo on the kickoff show. And even, you could go as far as saying Rusev and Big E were just not pay-per-view worthy matches or segments. I mean, there's only a handful of, there's 3 matches maybe I'm looking at. The Money in the Bank contract ladder match, I'd say was the match of the night. The WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. And the WWE Tag Team Championship match. 3 matches out of 7 matches were good. The rest were just nowhere near. Nowhere near. I mean, 3 matches, you could say, is enough to make a good pay-per-view. But there was a lot of bullshit in this. A lot of bullshit. I mean, I was disappointed the Wyatt family didn't win. Not disappointed. I can't say disappointed. I can't, because I'm an Uso fan. I can't say disappointed, but I would have liked to see a fresh, new face as the Tag Team Champions. Seth Rollins winning the Money in the Bank contract ladder match. They went down the predictable route, maybe because Barrett was injured, but they could have easily made a bigger start, maybe like a Ziggler, a Rob Van Dam, a Kofi, who really needs to come out of that big slump he's been in for the last 3 years. And also John Cena. Yes, I know we want a fresh new face as a WWE World Heavyweight Champion, but at this time, in June 2014, WWE's not doing too good, are they? They aren't. And they need somebody like John Cena that they can rely on night after night to bring in ratings, bring in money, and to get them out of this slump. It's best for business. And yes, you're annoyed because Cena's the champion again. I am as well, because I want to see somebody like a Cesaro, a Reigns, and Bray fucking Wyatt walk out as a champion. But at this current time, it just wasn't right. I mean, it would have been awesome for all the Wyatt family to come out with the goal tonight. was never really happening, was it? I mean, it would have been amazing, but it was never happening. It just seems like when I'm dissecting this pay-per-view, every single match, there was a bit of a disappointment in there. Because it's a shame Cena won. Rollins was predictable. Layla against Summer Rae just sucked. Rusev against Big E was okay. Stardust and Goldust versus Ryback was just boring. Rose, Damien Sandow shouldn't even have been on the show. Paige, once again, in just a shit Divas Championship match. Wanted the Wyatt family to win. And Daniel Bryan, it just didn't really seem like they had a plan there. So all in all, a big disappointment for this pay-per-view. I had huge thoughts for this show. I thought it was going to be fucking awesome. Coming out of it, a bit disappointed, really. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you have, in fact, enjoyed this video. I know I've enjoyed doing this review. Could have been better. Could have been a lot better, this pay-per-view. A lot better. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. As always, spite your hair. I'll give this show, what did I say? 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Take care. Spite your hair.
If I found a way to be happy every day, if you could just see my face,